Hey guys, it's Lemon Jose and welcome back to another review. Today we're going to be reviewing Red Dead Redemption 2.
Red Dead Redemption 2 is what I like to call an immersive video game. It's a game that sucks you into its world and its story and does it almost seamlessly. It has been a while since I played a game where I actually cared about the story more than the actual game itself. In recent years, the story of video games has not been really grabbing me as much as I wanted them to, so gameplay was always first for me. But for this game, it was the story and world that really kept me playing for the long run. Now, why is this game so immersive? Well, let's find out. Now, I don't exactly know what the hell I'm supposed to say in this section. Guys, this is a 60-hour video game where there are like 19 hours of cutscenes. I swear to God, I'm not lying or exaggerating. Usually in my videos, I like to summarize the whole plot and then talk about the things I like or dislike about the story. But this time, I'm just gonna get straight into that because if I talked about every little plot thread in this fucking game, that would be a whole video in of itself. But there will definitely be spoilers, so be warned. I'm talking major spoilers here. In terms of characters, this game has a whole fucking fighting game roster of these guys, and I love it. Dutch's gang is filled with some of the most interesting characters I've ever seen in a video game. They are all outlaws, but they're still human, people, just trying to live a normal life. I also love their goal of wanting to get money to buy land so they could just run away and live their own lives without having to be fucking gunslingers. I wouldn't necessarily call the main gunslingers of the story good people, because they do a shit ton of bad things to get to their goal, and some characters like Micah are just straight up psychopaths waiting to murder someone.
Micah, it's northern. Oh.
You always was a letdown, you fat sack of crap. Excuse me a minute, Arthur. Hello, Maddie. Did you miss me? They had something of mine. My guns.
Arthur and Dutch, probably the two most important characters in this whole game, do some very bad shit, especially in the first half of this game. We'll get to Dutch very soon, but I want to talk about Arthur for a minute. Arthur Morgan is one of the best main characters I have ever played as in a video game. In my eyes, he is the perfect anti-hero. He was really well written throughout the whole game. He has never felt out of character, never said anything that made me feel off. He was just Arthur Morgan, a man trying to help his gang live the lives that they deserve, with him wanting some peace and quiet as well from the gunslinging life. Arthur is a very loyal man, not only to Dutch, his leader, but also to the whole gang, and he considers John Marston a brother. Even when Arthur was on his fucking deathbed, he was still loyal to the douchebag who let him die.
I gave you all I had. I did.
However, in the beginning of the game, Arthur was not a very good man. He was still all the things I said about him, don't get me wrong, but he never cared about other people's well-beings that weren't in the game. He didn't mind hurting or even killing people to get what he wants or what he thinks the gang needs. The whole game, Arthur Morgan has a moral dilemma, which finally gets resolved when he finds out that he has tuberculosis and could die at any minute. This changed something in Arthur, and I guess as atonement for all the bad shit he did, he decided to help people in the most wholesome of ways. Arthur has never been more forgiving and more honest with himself until he had tuberculosis. I guess it showed that deep down, he actually gave a shit about people, and he feels bad for the things he's done in the game's runtime. I also love Arthur's speech about the outlaws' time in the sun starting to dimmer, how in the future there won't be any more outlaws.
The whole world's changing. Even I see that now. Our time is pretty much past. They don't want folk like us no more. This there rules will be damned with you. No more outlaws. No more killers. Now it's us being hunted. Oh, they ain't stopping.
Also, Arthur's really weird relationship with Mary was actually very sweet and very somber, seeing as they would never be together as they're completely different people living completely different lives. I think helping John's family as Arthur's last mission in his life was the cherry on top of his character development, because he fucking hated John Marston in the beginning of the game, guys. Like, he hated this motherfucker. But after the whole game went through, he realized how much he loves John and wants to help him and his family get out of the gang before things start to get bad. Arthur Morgan is a near perfect character in my opinion, without a doubt. Dutch is another really well-written character who goes through a devastating, cruel change in this fucking game. In the beginning of the game, Dutch was a confident leader, hell-bent on saving his gang from the Pinkertons. He was smart, always thought 2 steps ahead. He was kind, but he was also deceptive, able to make up and act with a snap of his fingers.
This is quite some country you have here.
We like it well enough.
Hoagie McIntosh, at your service.
He's also the father figure of both Arthur and John for 20 fucking years. And he even has his own father figure, Hosea Matthews. Hosea is Dutch's moral compass, I guess you can say. He helps Dutch in the worst of times and gives him advice almost all the time that they're talking to each other. Hosea is a very wise old man that Dutch basically considers his own father. Needless to say, it was pretty obvious why Dutch was the leader when you were actually playing the game. The game showed a lot of his incredible leadership and how he helped the gang a lot. But things started to change. Dutch's plans were failure after failure, losing even more money, getting the Pinkertons closer. It was terrible. But Dutch wanted to prove that he was still a competent leader, so he kept on making more plans. However, on one bank robbery, Hosea, his father figure, got killed by the Pinkertons. This was the start of what I like to call Dutch van der Linde's descent to madness. After this, Dutch started to get mad very frequently, which he literally never fucking did before.
I had a goddamn plan! John, you are my brother. You are my son. I was coming for you.
They was talking of hanging me, Dutch.
They was talking. They was talking. And now they may come and hang us all.
And he started to kill innocent people, making up excuses for why he did what he did. And most of the excuses were that they were gonna kill them in one way or another.
What was that?
Horrible old crone.
But you killed her.
She was gonna betray us, Arthur. Couldn't you tell?
No.
Well, I got some Spanish. She was.
You sure you're all right, Dutch?
I am just trying to make sure that some of us survive, Arthur. Now, shall we proceed?
He even starts putting the gang in even more danger. He starts going on revenge missions, with the most notable being Leviticus Cornwall, who has been trying to kill Dutch since the train robbery in the beginning of the game. Even though Dutch's most memorable piece of advice in the whole game is revenge is a fool's game.
Revenge is a fool's game.
And then Dutch helped a bunch of Indians trying to win a war with the oil company, but he's only doing this so he can get some bonds that are worth around like $2,000, which was a shit ton of money back in 1899, by the way. But all he fucking did was get the Indians' chief's son killed, force the Indians to move away from their land and go somewhere else. Dutch even left Arthur to fucking die. It was clear that Dutch went off the deep end, and in the end, the gang left him. And it turns out the reason why all the plans went bad was because we had a rat in the group the whole time, and that guy was Micah. This psychopath was basically Dutch's new right-hand man, persuading Dutch to do specific missions and such, basically brainwashing Dutch. And this brainwash led to the end of the game, where Dutch looks into Arthur's eyes right before Arthur's death and just walks away. It isn't until the end of the game where we finally see Dutch again, and he fucking shoots Micah, finally ending the brainwash. Dutch van der Linde is a very complex character. He has multiple sides to him, and we honestly don't even know which one is the real Dutch. Is it the smart, kind man in the beginning of the game, or is it the cold-blooded sociopath in the end? We don't necessarily know, but the game loves to say that the sociopath Dutch is his real side. Either way, I love the way that Dutch was written, and I love this descent to madness story. John Marston is great. While he isn't as well written as the last two characters, I enjoyed his time in the story. He also had an amazing character transformation, from being the asshole who cared about the gang more than his own kid to a family man trying to get the best life for them. After John leaves the gang, he has an amazing last two chapters where he works his ass off to provide for his family. In the end, even making his own house from fucking scratch just so he could get his wife the perfect house. And that scene where John proposes to Abigail legally is the sweetest shit ever. And I think it shows how much he really wants a nice happy life with his wife and kid. The ending of this game is so perfect because it's finally the dream that John wanted. A nice happy home with no outlaws, no Pinkertons, nothing of that nature. It's just peace and quiet with his lovable family. John's story is a sweet one, and his dedication to his family is a truly admirable act that I wish people did nowadays. Seriously, who cares about their family as much as John Marston nowadays? You think anybody would build a house from scratch like this motherfucker did? Hell no, they wouldn't. I like John Marston. Isaiah is a pretty great character. The other members of this gang aren't as important, but they are memorable, I'll tell you that. Miss Grimshaw is the mean old woman that you just gotta love. Karen is the annoying bitch that you never want in your life. Sadie is the badass chick of the group that wants to be a gunslinger like the rest of the guys. And she even gets revenge on the gang that killed her husband. Lenny is the youngster in the gang who wants to prove he can be useful, which he definitely was. Plus, that drinking mission with him was fucking hilarious, guys. Oh my god. Charles is a cool Indian dude that literally breathes loyalty, and him helping out the Indian people was awesome. Uncle was great. This dude is a douche, and his lumbago is hilarious. You gotta love Uncle, man. And outside of the gang, we got the Indian group, and I love these guys. Rainsfall is a sad, fucking character. He's an old man who wants peace and knows that if his people fight the oil company, they won't win. He doesn't want his people to die, let alone his own son, who is the main leader of this rebellion. While I don't agree with Rain Falls' mentality, I do believe that he has good intentions and a pure heart, which makes his scenes where he begs his son to not fight just that much more emotional. His son, Eagle Flies, is a great character. A lively young man willing to fight for his people no matter the cost, and his relationship with the gang was sick. You just wanted to protect this kid, but in the end he dies, and that really hurt me. Also, the fucking horse that you were with for the whole 60 hours of this goddamn game dies at the end, and that shit made me tear the fuck up.
Thank you. Arthur!
This game's story is awesome. It's paced rather perfectly, may I say, and the characters truly bring up the story to what I would call a masterpiece. Do I even need to say this? Like, do I even need to say this? Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. The game looks fucking fantastic! Oh my god, look at the mountains! The snowy mountains! Look at the rain! The realistic ass rain! The sunrise is so beautiful! This game is without a doubt the most realistic looking game of all time. There's no contest. However, let me show you what makes this game beautiful and even at times artistic with its visuals. Yeah, this game is very realistic, but it can be very creative a lot of the time, where it almost looks like a cinematic movie or a stunning painting. One great example is when you pause this fucking game. I don't care where you pause this game, it will look like it was made to be paused. I can't explain how well this fits with the game. White and red are two very occurring colors in this game, and the menu just pops out. And the landscapes of this game are so majestic and monumental, with big towering mountains, a simple yet lively countryside, a frigid and frosty snowy mountain with giant ass furry ass wolves, a muddy and foggy bayou filled with gators waiting to eat a piece of you and your horse, a camp with a fire and people together dancing and singing glorious music with a guitar. This game has the visuals that make a video game memorable. Not to mention that it truly immerses you into this world. You truly feel like you are in the Wild West. You run into outlaws and bounty hunters all the time. You take care of the horses and use them to ride down to the sunset. You use old school guns like revolvers and rifles, real cowboy guns. There are some duels that you can do with people where it's like a movie who's gonna draw out the gun first. And obviously we got cowboy hats and cowboy clothing, from the sick ass outlaw wears to the farmer outing. You can even customize your holsters. It's fun as fuck and it grips you into this world. It really shows how different life is from over 100 years ago. And the characters of this game are so realistic looking, like you're watching a movie or something. They're not emotionless robots pretending to be human. They move and talk like humans, which makes it feel even more real. And also, is it just me, or does Hosea look like fucking MatPat? And also, this game has this mode called Cinematic Mode, where it will add black borders so it looks like a movie, and it's actually kinda cool. The visuals are obviously orgasmic, but now let's talk about the soundtrack. This game's soundtrack is probably my favorite Rockstar game soundtrack of all time. I love your Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, I really do. Your main theme will always be the most iconic theme of all time, but the music in this game is another means of immersing you into its world. I love the battle music when you're having a shootout. It sounds like it could be in one of those old school Western movies.
Go! Go! I'm covering you!
And there are surprisingly a lot of songs with lyrics in them, and at times they can make you feel pretty emotional. Also, who can forget the amazing music in that montage mission where you build a house?
Well, let me have a rule and a saw and a board and I'll cut it. I'll climb up a ladder with a hammer and a nail and I'll nail it. Well, we worked so hard to build a little house together. In the snow or the rain or the ice cold wind, whenever.
And then we got the cool parties where the gang actually sings from time to time, and it feels like one of those family parties where everybody's just having fun and getting lost in the moment, no worrying about problems, just pleasure and delight. It's one of those moments that makes you feel like you are really a part of the gang. I love it. And I love voice acting, which is by far one of, if not the best, yes, the best video game voice acting I've ever heard. Every single actor in this game knows exactly what the fuck they are doing. No mistakes, no nothing, it all feels so natural. Their tone of voice can make a scene even better. Their accents are believable and defined. You hear a voice in this game and you know exactly who's talking. Every character has their own quirks with their voice. John Marston has like a raspy sort of voice.
You, me, Dutch, Hosea. It's been a long time now. I sometimes wonder if things was ever the way we remembered them. If we were ever who we thought we was.
Micah has a threatening and kind of psychotic voice. Kind of reminds you of Trevor from Grand Theft Auto 5.
Skinny, get out here! Way I see it, best thing we can do is let the week go. Move on, get our money, and start over.
Dutch has a confident and outspoken voice. Makes you believe in him and his words.
You give me this ship, $10,000, and safe passage out of here, I'll let you live. I loved Davy, Jenny, Sean, Mac. They may be okay. We don't know. But we lost some folks. Now, if I could throw myself in the ground in their stead, I'd do it. Gladly.
And obviously we have the man, Arthur Morgan, who's a calm man, but not a man that you would want to fuck with. Every word he speaks, it makes you want to listen to what he has to say. It's genius.
We're thieves in a world that don't want us no more.
He's been gambling and drinking and other things.
Oh, the filthy rotter. I can't lie to you. I'm a wanted man, Mary. If anyone close to me, well, they're wanted too. And I can't have you wrapped up in there. But it's coming to an end. This time it really is.
Run away with me, Arthur. Run away right now and don't look back.
I want to. More than anything, I want to. But I've got some people I need to take care of. Once they're free, then I'm free. Then I can disappear.
This game has a fucking spectacular presentation. It carried a lot of the game for me, honestly. This game truly wanted you to feel like you were in the Wild West, and damn does it make it known. I love it all. Okay, this game is a different beast from a lot of games that I've played in my life. This is one of those games where they sort of play themselves. This game has the most broken aim assist ever. When you're riding your horse, it'll evade trees automatically so you don't get hurt. It's an easy ass game. It's a game that in 2 hours, maybe 3, you'll basically experience everything there is to offer. However, this is a game where that is not necessarily a bad thing. Usually when a game is really easy to master, I kind of get bored of it. But this game has the best open world I have ever played. It is so much fun riding your horse through these landscapes, and you can come across random ass shit when exploring. They're basically RPG random encounters, but they're actually fun and you really want them. This makes it so much fun to actually go to my destination because I know I'm gonna find some cool ass shit on my way over there. I have never felt so immersed before in an open world game until this game. Hell, in one of these random encounters, there was a dude who was bitten by a snake, and I could either leave him or suck out the venom. And if you actually suck out the venom, you'll come across him later in the game when you're walking around some towns. That's awesome. However, there are definitely cons to this game. The controls for this fucking game are the most sluggish controls ever. When you walk, your character feels like it has a 100-ton fucking weight strapped to his goddamn legs. And running in this game is a fucking nightmare. Oh my god, these characters feel so heavy and hard to move, which makes me bump into shit so much. And somehow, I was actually surprised about this, but riding in this game is actually really fucking awesome to control. Whether it's a horse or a wagon, it just feels so natural, so fast, so free. Definitely better than fucking walking, man, I'll tell you that. And then we got shooting, and wow. Shooting is fun in this game. But again, since running is a nightmare, it's weird to me. Now, usually, for me, when you fuck up the controls, you ruined it. Yeah, you ruined the whole game. However, I found myself still having a blast. Guys, there is so much that you can do in this game. Story missions, side quests, bounties, skinning animals for your collection, finding cigarette cards. And now the main character has health stats? What? Yes, that's right. You have to feed your character, you gotta get a good amount of sleep, you gotta run a lot to help with stamina increase. There's even an honor system where depending on your choices in the story missions, the side quests, and even the open world itself, you will be judged. You can also get a haircut, you can get fat if you eat a lot, if you don't shave you'll look like a caveman. This game has a lot going for it. While the majority of this doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, I love its inclusion because it gives you the freedom to make your character into the man that you want him to be. You can even bond with your horse, either by petting him, brushing him, feeding him, getting in some exercise. I like doing this even though it's unnecessary. It's needless to say that I fucking loved my horse for the whole 60 hours that I played this game. I had 2 horses in this game. For the first half of the game I had Forgoleon, my male horse, and the second half of this game was my female horse, Vanessa. Yes, these are characters from Black Clover, how did you know? And that's just the open world. The main story missions are great in this game. There's a lot of creative ones that get you doing shit that you would never see in Rockstar games. You build a fucking house in one of them. I how this is fun to me is insane. And there's also missions where you become a fucking loan shark and beat up people who don't pay you. There's a mission where you're in a forbidden love story and you need to help this dude's secret letter to this girl in the other family house. I love shit like this. These missions can be really fun, but the problem is that there are a lot, and I mean a lot, of boring ass missions, trailing missions, hurting some fucking sheep, a bunch of shootout missions where all you do is just shoot people. These are not that fun to do, and the only fun you get out of them is story. But if you aren't into story, I'm gonna be honest, guys, this game might not actually be your cup of tea. This game, my friends, is a game that you need to enjoy the story and the characters to really appreciate it, because unless you decide to not do story missions, you might be pretty fucking bored. This game has the Persona 5 effect, where if you don't care about the story, yeah, I don't really see you enjoying this one as much as other video games out there. Like with Grand Theft Auto 5, you don't need to play the story mode to have a great time. I love the open world in that game. But with this game, I feel like if you're just doing open world and you don't care about the story or the characters, why are you playing this game? This game is basically an RPG with how much you need to care about the story to enjoy the game as a whole. I do like the side missions though. Side quests in this game have a ton of variety if you're really looking for that. In one side quest, you're taking pictures of deadly animals for this man, and in another, you're fishing with an old dude trying to find the biggest fish there, and in another side quest, you're searching for an old man's house to find out that in his youth, he was a slave owner. What the fuck? I really like the side quests. I never usually do side quests, but this game was surprisingly unique with them. There's not really much to talk about after that. This game is definitely not a gameplay first kind of game, but its relaxing, slow-paced nature is very fun and honestly well done in my opinion. I know a lot of people won't agree with me when I say this, but I was honestly never bored when playing this game, even when I was riding my horse. Like, while trailing missions are boring, I actually gave a shit about the story, so I wasn't bored when doing trailing missions. I know that sounds stupid, but trust me. I really enjoyed the gameplay for this awesome-ass open-world adventure. This game is without a doubt the best Rockstar game of all time. I don't care if it doesn't have a good online mode like Grand Theft Auto 5, okay? It's a game with so much passion, love, ambition. It's an artistic and beautifully told masterpiece. This story is one of the best I've ever seen in a video game, making me care about every single character. And that's a very hard thing for me to do. Usually I hate one, maybe two characters, but this game made me care about everyone. There is literally not a single boring ass character in this game, which makes the plot so interesting. Especially near the end when shit starts to get emotional. Wow, man. And the visuals are obviously the best thing ever. I never thought the PS4 could have a game that looks this realistic on it. This literally looks like next gen shit. This looks more next gen than the next gen games that are coming out now. How is that even possible? And the open world is the most immersive open world ever. You really feel one with this world and connected to it in a way that no other video game could have done. It's needless to say that this game is a masterpiece. So it gets the marvelous 10 out of 10.
So Red Dead Redemption 2 was basically an all-around amazing experience. But now, what is the next review going to be? And I'm going to tell you. This next review is going to be a little different than most reviews, as it's not really a game per se, but a mod for a game that we've already reviewed on the channel, Half-Life 2. And this mod, my friends, is called Entropy Zero. Anyway, I'll see you guys in that next review. Peace.